All right, TJ Lang is joining us. It's an exciting time because it's January 19th and we're still playing meaningful games. I don't have to care about mock drafts. The questions are numerous for Mr. Thomas John Lang. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to throw a number out. You have something you want to talk to TJ about, you are welcome to. I have two questions for this man, Rico, before you two fight like cats and dogs. It's adorable. It's become my favorite Friday tradition.
Oh, please. I love
We
TJ.
call it a segment known as When Mommy and Daddy Fight. So listen, A, what the hell can we expect from James Houston, who hasn't played in over 4 months? What do you know? What do you say?
If I had to guess, I'd say 12 to 15 snaps.
Passing only downs?
Yeah, third down, third and long. Get out there and let's see what you got. Kind of like what they did with Bruce Irvin when he first got here. Hey, we'll give you, 10 snaps, 12 snaps maybe. And
okay.
If you take advantage, maybe you expand the role there. But I think
Knock
that
the QB out.
Yeah. Well, look, I think the blueprint for coach and how he treats guys coming back from injury is there, right? He always says, hey, we got to get him in a game shape. We're not going to throw him out there and expect him to go play 40, 50 snaps. James Houston's been out for a long time. It was a Seattle game, I think, week 2.
Wow.
Right? So it's been a long time.
He broke his ankle.
He's got to get back into football shape a little bit. It's hard to do in practice. So that's why I think you say, hey, start off with maybe 8 snaps, right? And if he can get you a couple pressures, then start expanding his role a little bit.
All right, question 2. Last week, you waltzed into the studio. You were on a scale of 1 to 10 confidence-wise an 11. We're going to destroy this team. Mike, you're being a scaredy cat. La-di-da. So now that you're playing the Bucs, do you share the same confidence, or has the former player in you decided to make an appearance and go, wait a minute now, it's a divisional round. The other guys are getting paid too. Yeah. Or do you think this team's just going to steamroll?
No, I don't think steamroll. No, I don't.
He's back, people.
Okay, here's what I'd say. I feel confident. Do I think it's going to be a close game? Yeah, I do. I think a lot of the fans are kind of underestimating this Tampa team, and especially their defense. Their defense is legit now. But would I be surprised if it was 31 to 17 type of game? I don't think I'd be surprised there either. But you get it, man. You've been around long enough where you see these playoff games and weird things happen.
They're scary.
Yeah, anything can happen, right? And the Bucs, I mean, look, we know Philly was kind of on a downward spiral for the last 2 months, but I mean, that's the defending NFC champs that you completely dismantled. So this team's Tampa's feeling pretty good about themselves.
TJ, your former player. Now, I know players get upset if you say stuff like this, but I'm just going to say, they looked like they were not interested in playing money for football that day. They looked like they got off the flight and went, is this over yet?
You mean football for money? Yeah.
They look like they've been in that mode for the last month, though.
But
even against the Giants, they looked like they didn't want to be there.
Seen it. They were in the Super Bowl. They got a good roster, and they look like they're like, we're not playing football for money.
Yeah, and it was weird. It was weird, and I thought that, hey, they've got enough veterans on that team that have been to a couple Super Bowls, right? Lane Johnson, Kelsey, these guys have been to 2 Super Bowls. Maybe they can get them going now that it's playoff mode. Hey, regular season, we didn't end it right, but clearly something was wrong there. Clearly something was wrong. And Philly, they just they hit a wall, man, and it was all downhill. And Nick Sirianni could not figure it out. But
breaks your heart.
Look, Tampa whooped them. Right? That could have been a 40-point game, the game that I was watching. I mean, they whooped them. So I guarantee you this team is not taking Tampa Bay lightly. I've heard a couple people throughout the week say, we're going to blast them. We're going to
it's been all week.
Careful with that now, because this is one of the best defenses that you faced all season. And they're better than when you played them in week 4, week 5, whenever that was. They're a lot better.
What's the difference in your mind? What makes them better now than then?
I think their confidence level. Their confidence level right now, and you can hear it. I go back and kind of rewatch their press conferences throughout the week and the post-game stuff. Honestly, they're kind of talking the way that our defense is talking. You hear C.J. Gardner-Johnson talk. I mean, I don't know if there's a more confident guy than him.
No, I'm glad you said that. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, did he poke the bear? Did he do something that really wasn't necessary, going out there saying the quote, if you give that Tampa group a good quarterback, that's a great group. And then he goes on and says Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, who hasn't played all year. That's a great group. I played against them for real. Basically calling out saying Baker Mayfield is trash.
Yeah.
No, he said it.
I know he said it. You kind of wonder what he meant by. Did he mean to take it? I mean, no one surprised me because CJ is
I think this was one of those
guy.
Yeah, if you had a real quarterback, we'd respect you.
Yeah,
is how I took it.
Yeah, I mean,
Baker was just like, yeah, dude, Russell Gage hasn't played all year.
Right.
You may need to go watch more film.
Yeah, and look, Baker's playing at a high level. I mean, he is. He still makes a couple mistakes, every once in a while, but. Even last week, I mean, how many balls did Tampa Bay drop? I mean,
17, roughly.
He could have thrown for probably 100 more yards in that game.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, did that light the fire? Like, here's the thing. Mike thinks we argue. TJ came and dropped the knowledge on Sunday.
Loved it. It was great.
It was the pregame show. Green Bay is winning. And I just asked, are players watching this game, or do the coaches have them in the Doug Karsh bubble where they're not allowed to know what's going on in the world? And TJ's like, no. They're watching this game. And I think everything changed at that moment because you saw what happens if you take a team for granted. I think Dallas did that. So now I'm just wondering, does this light a fire under Baker Mayfield that I just got called out publicly?
It could, but,
like, Baker, guys, don't drop a pass.
Yeah,
seriously.
I mean, Baker's kind of had that chip on his shoulder for a long time now, right? Like, you know what you're going to get from him. He's a competitive guy. He's in kind of I'm not going to say arrogant, but he plays with that swagger and that cockiness that, he's the guy. And I think that rubs off on the rest of the team. Like, that, it's contagious, his attitude. You see that the Tampa Bay the entire team play with that type of confidence that Baker has. And I think it's turned into a good story. I think the story last week with Stafford and Goff and their history and with McVay, there's kind of a similar story this week again where you've got two former number one picks playing for different teams that are trying to rebuild themselves, right? And both still trying to cement their legacy. I have a lot of respect for Baker. I think when he first came in, it was like, nobody likes this. You can't act like this when you're a rookie. You haven't done anything right. And then he fell to rock bottom. Now he's climbing his way back up, much like we saw Goff do towards the second half of last season and really start to become a very mature player and a mature teammate and a mature guy. Baker's kind of on that same path, so I have respect for him. But sure, he is that type of guy that you probably say, hey, that's a, good sweatshirt you're wearing there. Oh, he didn't say it's great. That's a chip on my shoulder. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys that probably tries to find any little slight to put on his shoulder. No, this wasn't a little slight. CJ probably meant to call him out. Maybe he did. That's who he is. But look, I mean, it's such a fascinating game because I just really don't know what to expect. I think last week, being in the locker room during the week, talking to a lot of offensive guys, going into that Rams game, the vibe was kind of like, we're going to have to score some points, right? They've got a good offense. And the way the game turned out, it wasn't super high scoring, but the offense did that. They were 3 for 3 in the red zone. Defense, obviously, 0 for 3 in the red zone for the Rams. I got the feeling more this week that the defense is like, we're going to have to go win this one because we know what our offense is up against. Now, I'm glad you get them at home because a lot of what Tampa Bay does with their pressure, they're especially at home. Last week against Philly, a lot of it is timing up the snap and timing up the silent count. And you have a big advantage when you're at home. When you're on the road as a defense trying to do that, you're a step slower. You know what I mean? There's a half a fraction of a second where maybe now you give the quarterback an extra second to see the blitz, or you give the running back an extra half second to see where the pressure's coming from. So I think the Lions are going to have an advantage when it comes to facing all the pressure that Tampa Bay likes to dish out. But I think this is going to be, I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of as a punt fest in the first half. You know what I mean? Where both offenses are just trying to feel their way out. And
that's not a good
thing. What are we going to do? Like last week was a score fest, right? To start the game, and then it turned into a punt fest. I could see the opposite maybe happening this week.
TJ, a punt fest in the first half. Yeah, that's not a good thing for the Lions.
No,
that's good for the Bucs.
No, it's not a good thing for my over. What the hell are you doing?
What props you got this week, Mike?
Honestly,
what's your favorite?
Trey Palmer.
It always comes back to him.
Trey Palmer, anytime touchdown.
Just don't win by 7, all right?
Plus 430. No, I'm not. I'm not betting the game. I mean it. It would be the over and a little prop here or there.
6.5.
It is. I don't feel like the Lions should be just giving a touchdown away, and Tampa easily with no running game. Baker could get pressured.
Turn it to 7-on-7.
It could just, you could end up seeing them get boat raced a little bit. No, so here was the question, right? All right, Bowles blitz is 41% of the time. Well, clearly it didn't bother Jared Goff in the first matchup. Now, what did you see in the first matchup that allowed him to go 35 of 44 for 350 yards? And what would be different this time? How do you alter all these months, or do you just take the first game tape and throw it out if you're Bowles and go, it's irrelevant?
Honestly, I think it's irrelevant because it was so long ago. Like, I think there was some good things that maybe you could go back on and say, okay, hey, this play really worked, or we like this individual matchup. We saw Amon-Ra matched up with, Isian, right, in the slot. We like that matchup. We're going to favor him if we get that. But when it comes to repeat matchups, I think the comfort level is that guys like Frank Ragnow have gone against Vita Vea, right? You understand what kind of power he has. You understand, hey, when I tried to reach block him, he did this. So you have to have a different plan. But when it comes to probably schematics, hey, they sent a lot of pressure. Hey, they played a lot of coverage. I don't think that matters because I think both teams are insanely different than what they were at that point of the year. Now, Tampa was a different team. Baker kind of struggled to start the season off. He's playing at a much higher level. The Lions also, look, you didn't have Gibbs. Montgomery got hurt in that game. You didn't have Jonah Jackson, right? So that's 3 key players. So you're a different team. You know what I mean? But I think that Jared Goff, something happened in that Minnesota game when they won the NFC North up in Minnesota, and we knew that how much Brian Flores loves to pressure.
Tons.
And they picked it up all day long. And I think he got sacked one time, and it ended up being on a 3-man rush. But I think at that moment, that was the first game where I saw kind of nervous going into it with the amount of pressure. And we know the stats, Jared Goff, when he's blitzed, haven't been historically good. But something turned in that game where he started to trust the protection. He started to trust his running backs. He started to trust the wide receivers adjusting their route or going hot, if they see the slot coming. So I have confidence that Jared Goff has kind of gotten over that hump of being labeled as a bad quarterback when facing the blitz. Now, when facing pressure is different. That could be a 4-man rush, and, hey, the guy got beaten. You get pressure. That happens. Most quarterbacks are going to struggle. But when it comes to the blitz, he's taken a step forward over the past 4 games. And that's where I think as long as he can continue to see it and adjust the play, which you're going to have an advantage being at home, and get his guys on the right track, there's a ton of grass out there for these receivers and Sam Laporta and these running backs to make some big plays.
Outside of Winfield, to me, stinks. Yeah. People talk about Carlton Davis like he's special. I don't get it.
They're kind of – there are a lot of bulldogs. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing like – you look at them and you're like, okay, probably not a ton of talent, and kind of like our secondary a little bit where you see.
I think they're opportunistic where if the blitz hits and you force the quarterback into a bad throw, I got the pick.
Yeah, but they're frisky though. You know what I mean? Like they never go away. You're right. They're not these kind of guys that you're just going to run by all day long. I mean, they're going to battle, and you can appreciate that. You can respect it. I think this is going to be a big game for the coordinators. I think it's going to be a big cat and mouse game. Aaron Glenn, what are you going to change up this week? We've seen 2 weeks in a row now where you've gotten into short yardage situations on defense. One against Minnesota, 4th and 1, threw a bomb over your head, Justin Jefferson touchdown. Last week, 3rd and 1, threw a bomb over your head to Puka Nacua for a touchdown. Right? I think you're going to have to.
He missed your boy on another wide open one.
Yeah,
I didn't get the text. How the heck is this happening?
He sailed it over his head. I had that text ready, but he sailed it. But that's where I think Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are going to have to earn it this week because it might really come down to who can scheme up getting their guys in a more advantageous position. Because when you look at these two teams, I don't think it's one of these games offensively where you can say, hey, we're just going to do what we do and good luck stopping us, because they are a hell of a group, especially on the front 7 against Tampa. So you're going to have to find some creative ways that maybe can give you one big play that makes a difference, right? We all know in playoffs, hey, you look back and say, what was the difference? Oh, well, we turned the ball over, or we got a huge takeaway there in the second half.
You know the difference in the game between winning and losing against the Rams? You went forward on 4th down and got the touchdown. Sean McVay accepted field goals.
Yeah.
You win 24-23.
Exactly. So a lot of it sometimes comes down to the 3rd downs and turnovers and red zone and all those little battles that, you think, hey, we'll get it next time. But in playoffs, a lot of times you don't have next time. So Rico, it's going to come down to a lot of
I got to ask him our coordinator question. We're going to do it next. No, it's a question, and it's going to give you an opportunity to call me stupid, which I know you relish.
I can't wait.
It's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. We're having a super time. You're so stupid. Here's Rico.